the sexual offences in the UK have started ticking upwards fast since 2015. Now, 2015
Absolutely.
was the very start of the mass migration project. So they will always say, the people that are not convinced by that, they will always say the causation, no, correlation is not causation. And that potentially there are other things that could be affecting it. A lot of people are saying that it's because women are do now feel more confident to report the crime than they did, let's say, in 2014. How convincing do you find that argument?
I don't find it very convincing at all. For example, I know myself, I've suffered sexual harassment on the trains and sexual assault, and I won't report it because I know that in my heart of hearts, I know that the police won't do anything about it here in the UK. You can't, unless it's a severe case, I find it's not really taken seriously. I know that there have been a few police stations in the UK actually who have put up notices explaining that if you are to have suffered these particular crimes, to report these crimes online. Because they aren't as serious. And actually, I think it was Kent police station actually came under a lot of scrutiny for this. And on their leaflet outside that said which crimes you should be reporting online, rape and sexual assault was on that list. I'm sure they've probably changed that now due to the scrutiny.
Wow.
I'm sure they've fixed that situation. However, I do believe that many girls in the UK feel as though they aren't going to be listened to, and the police tend to come over and they'll talk to you about it and they'll take a statement and then you don't hear anything ever again. So I completely disagree. I don't think that's correct. I think if anything, people will be less likely to come forward about it.
Interesting. I mean, that's how we kind of got chatting, really, because I've told you about what happened to me. And what happened was I believe it was a near miss, 2020, just before lockdown. I was coming back from Manchester and my car was parked on the train station where I was living. And I don't even know how the hell it happened. I wasn't drinking or anything. I was just rushing to get on a train and I jumped on the wrong train, ended up in the village, sort of maybe 12, 14 miles away from where my car was. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday night, 11:30 at night, 11 o'clock. Nobody on the train station but me. And I was already waiting for the taxi driver because I've realized that I was in the wrong train. So I ordered a taxi. I knew that there will be a while. And as I was waiting, like nobody around, I'm already a little bit nervous, thinking, oh, this is not a situation that you want to get yourself in. And there is this taxi driver that is essentially Asian looking, pretending to be my taxi.
Wow.
I basically said, no, you're good, mate. And I sort of walked away. So he starts driving alongside me, saying how dangerous it is for young women like me to be on the streets on their own and all that. But he's saying it in such a creepy way. Like, it wasn't, I'm concerned for you, love. Like, can I just park my car there and just watch you to make sure that you get in a taxi, all right? He essentially tried to lure me into his taxi. When none of that worked, at that point I was dialing the taxi like company number, trying to basically tell them like, where the hell is your driver? And he parks his taxi and is starting to follow me. So I turn around, start walking very quickly away from him, and there are these two fairly young lads that sort of came around the corner, drunk, completely drunk. If I wasn't in the situation that I would be running away from these lads just in case, middle of the night, very chavvy looking guys. I'm sorry to use that language because they actually helped me. But normally at night, this is the assessment that I would make as a, woman on her own. And I just sort of asked them whether they wouldn't mind like staying with me for a couple of minutes until my taxi gets here, because this guy is just trying to like drag me essentially into the taxi. I mean, he was trying to lure me in. It was absolutely horrid. At that point, I did think that I will become the statistic. Now, my taxi eventually gets in. The two guys, I mean, they sort of had some exchange of words with the guy, and the taxi driver just hid, and he sort of drove around the corner, but I could still see that he parked his taxi there. And my taxi driver takes me away. I ring the police, and their response was no crime was actually committed, and I couldn't know what his motivations were. Right. Lovely. So a lot of the time when I see these statistics, it really angers me, because it's like when something happens, the police always says, oh, there was nothing we could have done. Now, actually, most of the time, there is a lot that you could have done, because it's unlikely that this guy wanted to help me out, let's be clear. And this guy just basically went on living his life without any bother from the police. Now, I had two guys that, fair point, they were drunk, but they were witnesses. I had the taxi company that knew that I was ringing them in distress, that I was being followed. I had the picture of the number plate of the car. Nobody cared. So, and that is not going to go down in any of the statistics, because essentially police told me that nothing wrong has happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
and this is the
like
problem.
so
It is the
frustrating.
problem. And that's the thing. So many, you know, and I'm terribly sorry to hear about obviously what happened to you. That must have been really incredibly scary. But the thing is, it's happening all
lucky.
over the UK every single day, and women are being dismissed entirely over and over and over again, and it's not fair, and it's not right, and we're being treated as second-class citizens in this country. These people are allowed to get away with these horrific crimes. Because there isn't enough evidence, or there isn't, you know, what it is they just don't want to follow it up. You know, they don't want to follow it up. There's so much funding going on other things here in the UK. I think there's £1.8 billion a month that goes towards foreign aid and housing illegal immigrants. But they won't share out those funds to go elsewhere, so into police forces, in order for them to follow up on these said leads. And I think this is the problem, and like you said, it is complicity from the government. They don't want to take responsibility for what's going on, so they are essentially ignoring it and providing us with no evidence to show that this is a real problem. And I think people now are really starting to come forward and say, you know, this is a real issue. 40 years ago, when the grooming gangs and everything, you know, started to become quite prevalent in society, people honestly didn't have social media and the technology that we have today to report it. They didn't have X. Now that we have you know, apps and other software such as X that gives us real life media, not the media that we see on TV that the government pay for and fund. Real media, real, you know, videos, and nothing is censored, you see. So I think now that we've got that, we're able to notice a difference, and we're able to notice that things really aren't quite as the government like to put it. And I think that's why this movement has become quite prevalent now.
If you enjoy this clip and you would like to support the show, all you have to do is press subscribe. And to watch the full conversation, you can go right here. I'll see you there.